The global telecom battlefield has just witnessed one of its biggest financial moves in recent years. A decision that is not just about numbers, not just about business transactions, but about the invisible force that shapes modern economy. Spectrum. AT&T, one of the giants of global telecommunications, has announced that it will spend a staggering $23 billion to acquire wireless spectrum licenses from EchoStar. On the surface, it may look like another corporate deal, but in reality, this is much more than that. This is about control of the digital future, about power in the age of connectivity, and about survival in a hyper-competitive industry where technology changes faster than politics. The number itself, $23 billion, is jaw-dropping, and it immediately sparks the question: why would a company invest so much in something that people cannot even see or touch? After all, spectrum is invisible. It is intangible, yet it has become one of the most valuable assets on Earth. To understand this, one must realize that spectrum is the backbone of modern life. Every call, every text, every video stream, every financial transaction that passes through your mobile device depends on this invisible highway of frequencies. Without spectrum, 5G cannot exist, wireless communication collapses, and the dream of artificial intelligence running on instant connections becomes meaningless. So when a telecom giant spends billions on spectrum, it is not just making a business deal, it is laying down the foundation of how people will live, work, and connect in the future. Now, let's break this down further. EchoStar, the seller, in this case is a company known for satellite services and broadcasting. Their spectrum holdings are crucial, particularly in the mid-band frequencies, which are often considered the sweet spot for 5G. Mid-band spectrum combines wide coverage with strong capacity, meaning it can handle large amounts of data while still reaching far distances. This is the goldmine that every telecom company is fighting for. By buying these licenses, AT&T is not just expanding its reach, it is arming itself for the next decade of wireless competition. But why does this deal matter beyond business pages and financial reports? The truth is, deals like these are deeply political, even if they are framed as corporate transactions. Control over spectrum is control over national security, over economic competitiveness, and even over cultural influence. Governments understand that whoever dominates the spectrum also dominates data flows, and in the 21st century, data is the new oil. Just as nations once fought over oil fields, ports, and trade routes, today the battle is being fought over frequencies, bandwidth, and digital highways. AT&T's move, then, is not just about beating its rivals, it is about making sure it is not left behind in the global race for 5G dominance. The timing of this deal is also worth analyzing. We are living in a moment where the global economy is shaky, inflation is pressuring households, and many corporations are cutting costs. Yet here is AT&T willing to spend $23 billion on spectrum. This tells us two things. First, the company sees spectrum as a non-negotiable necessity. It cannot afford to wait, because waiting would mean letting competitors such as Verizon or T-Mobile take the lead. Second, it reveals how much telecom companies are betting on the future of digital demand. Even if today's market looks uncertain, these companies believe that tomorrow's demand for connectivity will be explosive: more devices, more streaming, more automation, more data. In other words, this investment is a gamble on the inevitability of a hyper-connected future. Let's not forget the role of 5G in all of this. The world is still in the early stages of 5G rollout, but already the technology is changing industries. From autonomous cars that require instant communication with traffic systems, to hospitals that rely on real-time data for surgeries, to smart cities that will be built on interconnected sensors. 5G is the platform on which the next industrial revolution is being constructed. And none of this can happen without spectrum. Whoever controls spectrum controls the pace and scale of innovation. That is why this deal is so critical. But there's also a more subtle layer here, one that concerns geopolitics. We cannot ignore that spectrum and telecom infrastructure have become weapons of influence between superpowers. The United States, China, and Europe are all investing heavily in telecom to ensure that their companies are not dependent on foreign technology. This deal, therefore, can also be seen as part of a larger push to strengthen domestic players, ensuring that America's digital backbone remains under American control. In a world where cyber threats, hacking, and surveillance are everyday concerns, spectrum is as much a security issue as it is a business issue. Critics, however, are already asking whether spending $23 billion in one go is wise. Telecom companies have been burdened with debt for years, and AT&T itself has faced challenges in balancing investment with profitability. Will this massive outlay actually pay off, or will it become another example of corporate overreach? That's the question analysts are debating. But from AT&T's perspective, the risk of not acting is greater than the risk of spending. Missing out on spectrum today could mean being locked out of the digital economy tomorrow. Now, think of the consumer side. For the average person, these deals might seem distant and irrelevant, but the reality is, the quality of your mobile network, the speed of your internet, the price you pay for data, all of this is shaped by spectrum deals like this one. If AT&T succeeds, consumers could see faster networks, better coverage, and a step closer to futuristic technologies. If it fails, the costs of this investment might trickle down in the form of higher prices or service limitations. So, whether we realize it or not, these corporate moves affect our daily lives more than we imagine. Another important aspect is competition. Telecom is one of the most cutthroat industries in the world. Companies are constantly trying to outspend, outmaneuver, and out-innovate each other. With this acquisition, AT&T has sent a clear signal. It is not willing to settle for second place. But this also raises the stakes for competitors, who will now feel pressure to respond with their own investments. In effect, this deal could trigger a new wave of spending across the industry, a kind of arms race where every company tries to secure as much spectrum as possible. The consequences could be massive, not just financially, but also technologically. When you zoom out, what we are witnessing is the transformation of spectrum into one of the most valuable resources of the 21st century. Just like gold in the past, or oil in the 20th century, spectrum has become a symbol of wealth and power. But unlike oil, it is not something you can drill or ship. It is invisible. Yet it defines everything about how our world functions. That paradox makes it even more fascinating. Billions are being spent on something no one can see, but without which modern society would grind to a halt in the end. AT&T's $23 billion bet is not just a business story. It is a glimpse into the future of our digital lives. It reflects the hunger for faster, stronger, more reliable connections. It reflects the global competition for dominance in technology. And it reflects the way invisible forces like spectrum become the battlegrounds of both corporations and nations. Whether this gamble pays off will only be seen in the years to come. But one thing is certain. The race for spectrum has just entered a new, more intense phase, and the stakes could not be higher.